Hey guys, this is Lamentor from Grave Robber. I'm going to start doing a few lessons on the things that I teach in my private studio. I know I'm primarily a classical guitar player, so I have some different approaches to this. And that some people would want to see it. I'm also going to do some lessons on some of the songs. Some of the Grave Robber songs, things that are maybe a little riff heavy or that are difficult to figure out other than real easy songs. So I'm going to do some lessons to show that stuff as well as showing the curriculum that I have in my own private studio and the stuff that I learned for my degrees. So I guess we'll just start. The one thing I think this is really important to start with is learning the notes of the fretboard, because there's going to be some lessons coming up in the future that it's really important to be able to read notation and understand where things are laid out. So when I put a transcription of a riff from anyone from Greg Howe to Charlie Parker. I've been working on some Alan Holdsworth stuff, trying to wrap my brain around some of the goofy things that he does. It's going to be really important that we can read notation. Otherwise, it's just, I don't do a lot of tab work. I really don't tab things out unless I have a student who's just really young. But tab does work really well for position reading, and that's something mainly something we'll do with tab. But other than that, everything I'm going to do is in notation or in like chord diagrams and charts. And then I'm just going to kind of let people set free. I give examples of things. But the first thing I think is really important. It's an exercise, but it's also a way to learn some triads and different inversions. And the thing I'm going to do today, I'll just start on C. And C is really nice because there's no sharps and flats, so you don't have to worry about that. And so you don't get tangled up with, well, what's this, what's this? So we're just going to build a major triad and a minor triad, and then I may do an augmented one, explain how the augmented triad, which just means it's a sharp 5. I'm going to explain how that works, and all we're going to do is play in different, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4 string sets, and so I divide them into three strings. So you've got the E, the A, and the D. That's one string set, and then the next is going to be the A, D, the G, then the G, B, and D, G, B, so on and so forth. But right now I'm going to focus on just the first 2 string sets, which is going to be E, A, and D, and then the next string set's going to be A, D, and G. So that's where we're going to start. So the first thing we want to do is figure out how to play a C major triad starting on the lowest pitch that we have available, but we need to have as close a voicing as possible. So if we're in C major, we know a C major triad is going to be C, followed by E, then by G. That's going to be a root position triad, and then what we'll have after that is our first inversion triad, which will be E in the bass, followed by G, then by C. And then the second inversion will be G in the bass, followed by C, and ending with E. Now you can there's millions of different chord voicings that we could do, and they don't really have to be in that order. You can have a G followed by an E, followed by a C, and then let's add a 9. We'll put a D in it, and then put the C major or a major 7. You can put a B on it. You could do all sorts of crazy inversions, but the inversions I want to focus on right now are as close a voicing as possible. So for example, the lowest note we can play in C major on the guitar, tuned in standard. Got me. Some people are tuned a little funky, but tuned in standard, the lowest note we can play in C major is going to be the E. Now the problem we're going to have with trying to build a C major chord in this way. There are millions of other ways. You can just keep that in mind. But this particular way that I want to teach today, we can't keep the voicings tight. So from E, if we're in first inversion, we need to be able to find a G and a C. The next note after E in a first inversion chord is going to be G for this particular thing. And we can't play a G because we're already playing an E major or an E chord, or sorry, the E string open. But if we play the G, then that E won't sound. So we can't make that tight voicing. Now you could play it E, C, and then put a G here. You could do that. That would be a first inversion triad. Your E is in the bass. What that would be called, as far as Western music, it would be a C6. So it would be first inversion. But we won't really get into that. So the next thing we want to do, so we can't play an E or a C major chord starting on this E. The next note in the triad is going to be G. So that's our fifth. And then the note after that's going to be C. So we can play a C here on the A string, on the 3rd fret. And then the third note is going to be E. And we can play that here on the 2nd fret of the D string. So that is our closest and our tightest voicing that we can do at the lowest pitch that we can get on the guitar in this particular string set, being E, A, and D. So we have G on the 3rd fret, C on the 3rd fret, and then we have E on the 2nd fret. So there is our C major triad. I don't know if you can hear this because I'm not plugged in. So there's the C major triad starting on G. So this is 2nd inversion because we're starting on the 5th. Now the next tightest voicing we can do, and I'm going to go ahead and skip the explanation. I'm just going to go to the voicing. The next voicing that we can do, or that we have to do, is going to be C in the bass. So this will be root. So we're going to find C. So here's our C up here on the 8th fret, and then we need to go up a 3rd to find our 3rd, which is the E, and we're going to play that on the 7th fret of the A string. And then to close out the chord, we'll close it out with the 5th, and we can play a G here. So we have, so that is our root position C major chord triad. It's a triad. We're focusing on triads today. So. And then the next one that we want to go to is going to be E, because we played a G in the bass, C in the bass. Now we're going to find E. So the next E that's available is going to be right here within this string set. So we'll play E, and then we need to go up to G, so we need to find a G. And here's our G right here on the 10th fret of the A string. And then our C is going to be a 4th above that. So there we go, there's our C. So here is our major triad starting on E, or C major triad, sorry. I don't know if you can really see this. I'm not using the highest of quality cameras here, but so we have E, G, and C. E, G, and C. And that's our first inversion C major triad. And then here's our root, because our C is in the bass, followed by the E, followed by the G. Here's our second inversion, which is the G, followed by the C, followed by the E. So this is something that you'll want to do. Find all these triad inversions and just kind of go between them. It's nothing spectacular. It's not gonna, be your favorite exercise, I'm sure, or maybe it will. I don't know. It wasn't mine. So that's what you want to do there. Now the next string set, using the same method, making sure we are in the closest or the tightest voicing that we can get, playing C major triads in all three inversions. We're going to do the same thing in the next string set, which is going to be A, D, and G. So we're only going to play on these strings. So let's find our lowest voicing that we can get and the tightest voicing we can get within this string set. So we're on the A string. There's no A, there's no B flat, B, or C, or well, there is a C, obviously. That was pretty stupid. So anyway, so we have a C, and that's our 3rd fret. We're going to go up a 3rd, find the E, and that E is right here on the 2nd fret of the D string, sorry. And then we're going to play G open. So that gives us C, E, G. That's as tight a voicing as we can get on this string set at the lowest note we can play within C major. So the next one we want to find, because we're on C, so let's go up to our first inversion. We'll find E. So here's our E. Okay, and then here is G. So E is on the 7th fret, G is on the 5th fret, and then our C is on the 5th fret. So here's our C major first inversion. A little out of tune, aren't I? Okay, so there's our first inversion chord. The next one we want to find is G. So here's our G. And the note that we want to find, the next note in the chord we want to find is going to be C. So here's our C right here. So 10th fret, 10th fret. And then our E is going to be on the 9th fret of the G string. I don't know if you can really see what I'm doing here. So those are the different inversions. I'll go through those. So here's first inversion, or sorry, the root position, C, E, G. Here's E, G, C. So that's our first inversion. And then second inversion with the G in the bass. And you can keep going up higher, but the frets are so tight. It's difficult, and I don't really comp up past the 12th fret, to be honest with you. I may do a few little color things when I'm playing jazz stuff. The only time I ever go up here with Grave Robber is if I'm doing a lead, and most of my leads are pretty trashy because they were done on the spot. We write these albums so fast, we have such a low budget, I don't even have time to write solos, so I just kind of go. So I'm not up here very often. I try to stay down in this area. I work more with chords than I do with leads. So there's, anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, there's C major, root position, first inversion, and second inversion triads, and as close and as tight a voicing as we can get, starting on the lowest pitch we can get with that tight of voicing, and then we'll just make our way up to the 12th fret. We don't really need to go past it. So that's something you want to do in all keys. And guitar players, yes, you do need to work on flat keys. It's very important to not skip those. There's a whole world of really cool sounding stuff that you can do in the flats. So we need to make sure we don't skip over those and we only play in E and A and C and G. So now what I'm going to do is show you really quick how to just make a minor triad. So we'll start in the lowest string set. We have G, C, and E, right? Now the third, what happens in a minor chord is you flat your third. So we have G, C, E. E is the third of the chord. All we're going to do is flat that chord. So now we have G, C, and E flat. So there's our minor chord. We'll go to the next inversion, which has G, let's see, or C in the bass. I apologize. So here's our C major triad. C, E, G, flat the E. So there's minor. Same thing up here. E, G, C, flat your E. So there's your minor triad. And the same thing you could do to make an augmented chord. Just raise your fifth a half step. So here's G, C, E, G sharp. Here's C, E, G, C, E, G sharp, E, G, C, E, G sharp, C. So there's an augmented triad. So I hope that works. I'm going to post some more videos explaining this kind of stuff later.